Welcome to Gideon Stuff. Today we're going to be taking a look at a Kershaw Shuffle. This is a pretty neat little knife, and yeah. So before we get into the review, I want to say if you like this video, go ahead and leave it a like. If you haven't subscribed to this channel already, go ahead and subscribe. I appreciate it a whole lot. So let's jump right in with our size comparisons. Start off with the basics, as always. Here's the Ontario Rat 2. And the 1. So yeah, what we're looking at here is a short knife that's actually fairly tall and chubby. Let's bring out our Civivis. There's the Elementum, the Praxis. Yeah, not a huge knife, but also at the same time, not a small knife. Benchmade Bug Out. Spyderco PM2. Next up, we gotta do the Gerbers. You guys know how it works here. There's the mini paraframe and the full size. So yeah, in terms of length, not that much longer than the mini paraframe. Actually, in terms of sharpened blade length, not that far off either. But again, quite a bit bigger. And since I have it in my pocket today, we'll compare it against the Kershaw Bare Knuckle. All right. So, what are we looking at here? We are looking at a liner lock with thumb studs and plastic handles with a blade steel of 7CR13. Woohoo! Isn't that great? The cost of this knife is about 20 bucks. This is going to be a little bit of a shorter review. We're not going to go and do any actual cut tests because, well, I just don't think we need to. So let's jump right in with the review. So what am I liking here? First off, this is a multi-tool. Look, not only is it a knife, it's also got a little lanyard hole that can double as a kind of pry bar. But more importantly, it has a bottle opener. So it's automatically a multi-tool, and it has the most useful tool of all. I'm only halfway kidding. I do kind of like that it's a small knife with some multi-tool function. Next thing, it has a reversible clip. It's a tip-up carry, deep carry clip. Kershaw uses this clip quite a bit on some of their lower-end stuff. And yeah, it's a perfectly fine clip. There's not that much wrong with it. The texturing on the handle scales here, you see they have their K texturing, a bunch of Ks all over the place. Yeah, it works pretty nice. These provide grip, but they're not rough enough that they cause too much issues with the clip in and out of the pocket. So that's good. Next, the action is actually surprisingly good. Yeah, it's just running on plastic washers. But yeah, whoops. Yeah, it snaps out of there. It's a very good, reliable action. So, yeah, that's cool. Next thing is the blade. Yeah, I know, it's 7CR13 whatever steel. Not a great steel. But on this type of knife, especially at this price, I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass. But the blade itself is pretty nice. You have a drop point, nice pokey tip, a hollow grind, surprisingly, and it's decently thin behind the edge. I mean, it's not the thinnest thing, but yeah, it's not bad. And yeah, just a very useful blade shape. Especially when paired with the next thing I like, the ergos. You can get a full grip on this knife that has a blade length of, we should have done this earlier, but we're looking at blade length of, yeah. I mean, if we measure way back here, we're coming in just over 2.5. From here, though, just a hair under. Sharpened edge wise, we're going to call that like 2.3. Tiny knife. It's a very small knife, but you can get a full 4-finger grip on it. And look, I even got a little bit left over. And that's because of this nice choil up here. So the ergos on this knife are very good. Very assuring, I guess is the right way to put it. Like, you're not dropping this knife. When you're holding this knife, it is locked into place. It's not going anywhere. And so that's nice. And I think that's the best thing about this knife, is that they made a small knife feel like a full-size knife. You can see we have some pretty aggressive choils here, which I don't think are a bad thing on this small knife. Usually on bigger knives, when they have aggressive choils that tell you, put your finger here, it can be a little bit restrictive. But here, it works to the favor of the knife. It really does help the ergos be as good as they are. So I appreciate that very much. Last thing we're going to point out is the price point. You can get these for like 20 bucks. Yeah, no problems there. For 20 bucks, this is a very, very compelling knife. All right, so what's not so great? Okay, so bad side. First off, I think this knife is kind of ugly. That's not a big issue though. I mean, especially considering how utilitarian it is, it's not a big issue. It's not the pretty. I mean, look at this thumb stud, just like sitting here way far away from the handle. I mean, the thumb stud's a third of the way down the blade, but whatever. It's kind of ugly, but that's subjective. Next thing, there are some sharp edges. So, as we can see here, the liners are actually countersunk under the scales, which is really cool, right? That's pretty cool. But the problem is that the plastic comes to like kind of sharp edges here. So when you're holding the knife, it's very comfortable. If you have to bear down, yeah, you feel it kind of biting you. So that's not amazing. And in fact, I think this knife would have been better if the liners had been proud of the scales. Or not proud of the scales, but if they'd been not sunk in. You can see here perfectly. Focus. Yeah, they're sunk in. I know why they did that. It was to reduce the thickness, but, you know, it does leave some... I guess the other thing could have done is smoothed out the plastic, which you can see they did here, where your finger goes. This area is quite smooth, so if they just knocked down the edges all the way along, would have been better, in my opinion. Next thing, this lanyard hole pry bar screwdriver thing doesn't... I mean, look how thick that is. Focus. You're not going to do a lot of screwing with it, and you're not going to do a lot of prying either. So it's... I mean, maybe it's a persuasion tool, but, yeah, I don't know. Next thing, we're going to revisit the scales here for just a sec. The finishing could be better. So yeah, you can see this got little bits of plastic sticking up. And, I mean, yeah, that's not hard to fix. In fact, we'll fix it right now with my Civivi Elementum. But, you know, still, it's not attractive. But, again, $20? Maybe we can give him a slide. Next thing. Yeah, that is not centered. The knife itself, I should mention this, it locks up. I mean, yeah, that's good. So, I mean, as far as function goes, it's okay. It's not rubbing on the other side, but it's definitely not centered either. So, do with that as you will. Branding. Got Kershaw there on the blade. Kershaw on the clip. I mean, it's not terrible. It's a little more than I would have liked. It does kind of make the knife look cheap, but again, it is cheap, so what are you really going to complain about? The thumb studs are in the path of the cutting edge, but, I mean, just for opening packages and stuff, you're not really gonna notice. And yeah, I guess one thing I could have mentioned, whoops, is that the access to the liner is okay. It's not fantastic, but it's also not bad at all, especially for a small knife. For a small knife, it's really good. And this knife, honestly, has really great one-hand functionality for being as small as it is. Yeah, so I like that quite a bit. And we're going to stop picking it apart right there because, again, $20. So let's go ahead and go into my final conclusions on this knife. Yeah, it's good. It's perfectly fine, especially at the price point. This is a good knife. One of the best things about Kershaw, in my opinion, is that they are so widely available. Kershaw is one of the only knife companies that is actively putting work into their, let's say sub $40 line of knives. You have stuff like this. In fact, I'll be right back. Boom. You guys didn't even know I left, but I did to go get some more Kershaws. So what I was saying is, let's take a look at this knife here. This is the Kershaw Fraction. This is a really cool knife. You're looking at 8CR13 MOV, blade steel. It's a liner lock. It's on bearings, though. It has just an incredible action. This knife, you can find at your local Walmart for like $25. I got mine for $11. Here are two knives that came out of one of those Kershaw holiday packs that you see around Christmas time. And they're both really good. This thing is just so snappy. It's a tiny knife, but it's usable. This one here, very snappy as well. Very usable. Not fancy materials, but they're good knives. They are very useful knives. And if you're going to have a knife, you want to be useful. And I think Kershaw does a great job in that area. And it's an area that not a lot of other companies are even trying to compete in. Here's the thing. Most people, when they want to get a pocket knife, they don't go online to Blade HQ or Knife Center or DLT Trading or any of these other online retailers. They go to Walmart, or they go to the hardware store, or they go to the random sporting goods store that's not a small sporting goods store. And Walmart is not ever going to carry Civivis. You're not going to find a Civivi at Walmart. You're not going to find a CJRB. You're not going to find a Best Tech. You just don't. What you do find, though, are Kershaws. Lots of Kershaws. And lots of, other smaller type brands. But the thing is the Civivi, Best Tech, CJRB, we or Artisan, whatever you want to say, they're not looking to compete in that category. If you find a knife in anything better than 8CR at a Walmart counter, you're pretty lucky. But see, Kershaw, and really the only companies I can think of are Kershaw and Buck that actively try and put knives out in that price category, that under $40 price category. Sometimes you see your Spyderco Tenacious at your Walmart counter, but it's very rare. And the thing is Kershaw puts out good knives in that price point. If some random person walks into Walmart and they say, hey, I need a pocket knife, and they pick up the Kershaw Shuffle for $20, it will work for them. It will work for them. And in fact, it might even be the best choice. If you have someone who's not really a knife person, but they have recognized the utility of a pocket knife, they've recognized how useful it could be for them in their everyday life, and they just want a knife, this might be a better thing to get them than this. Yeah, this has, much nicer fit and finish, amazing action, has that D2 blade. It's just, it's so good. But see, that person might not care about that. They might not be a knife person. They might pick this up and they'll use it, and they will just take it out of their pocket and cut something, a string, an apple, whatever they need to cut, and then they'll put it back in their pocket. And when they need to sharpen it, they can buy just a generic stone at Walmart again. Just run this a couple of passes over it, you know, keeping it at some kind of angle, and put an edge on it and use it again until that edge comes off. They're not going to want to sharpen D2. So I think that Kershaw really should be getting a lot more credit for putting good knives into the hands of people who might not otherwise have held a good knife. I mean, this knife is better than most M-Techs. I'm not going to say all, because I've seen some M-Techs that were okay. I'd say this knife is better than the Gerber Paraframe. So, thank you, Kershaw, for continuing to make these knives. You know, if Kershaw tomorrow decides that they're only going to compete with Civivi from now on, and they move all their knives into the range of the bare knuckle, you know, a lot of knife enthusiasts and hardcore knife users, whoops, sorry about that, might rejoice, be like, oh, yay, this is amazing. But I don't think it would be very good for the knife economy overall, because they'd be taking a lot of knives away from just the normies. I say. But you guys know where I'm coming from. I am so glad that Kershaw makes knives like this. And I know this was kind of a rant about Kershaw in general, or not a rant, but this is kind of a... I was talking about Kershaw in general. As for this knife, yeah, this is a good knife. This is a really good knife. I put this knife in a video I made a while back of 10 great fifth pocket carries, and I stand by that. This is a great fifth pocket carry knife. In fact, when it folds up, I mean, it's pretty. It's a compact little oval. It's nice. And very legal. You know, the blade's not that big, but even with a small blade, get a full grip on it. You can do a lot of work with it. 7CR steel, not great, but it'll be easy to sharpen for someone. Maybe this knife should have been an 8CR 13. 8CR 13 is an upgrade, yeah. But for what it is, for the price, for honestly the intended target audience, I think this is a home run. 100%. This is not aimed at someone who only collects, you know, Ferrum Forge. This isn't aimed at someone who only collects Hinderer. This is aimed at someone who just needs a pocket knife. And you know what? If you're watching this video and you're not a knife person and you're just wanting a pocket knife to use, go ahead and snatch this guy up. I don't think you'll regret it. And that's going to be all for me today, folks. If you like this video, go ahead and leave it a like. If you disliked it, leave it a dislike. Tell me what you think about this knife in the comments below. And if you haven't already, subscribe. I've been Gideon Stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.